Like, you can't just perpetually abandon your pets.
Logan Paul has a history of abusing and mistreating his pets.
But then, once he didn't need it for content anymore, Pearl was out in the streets.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sid, and in today's video I am going to be talking about Logan Paul's pet mini pigs. Those who have been around on my channel for some time may know the involvement I had with Logan Paul's pigs, but I think most people probably just know that one of his pigs was rescued by the animal sanctuary The Gentle Barn. But there is a whole saga before that happened. That saga took place across multiple of my videos, and I think as a result there was a lot of accidental misinformation spread since there wasn't a clear, concise picture in one video of what happened. Commentary channels and Twitch streamers were only watching one video or the other and not getting the full picture. So now I am making this video with the full entire picture. And I also just want to say a big thank you to Missed Play for sponsoring this video. So basically in 2021, Logan moved to Puerto Rico in part for better taxes.
I feel like people are wondering why Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah.
Like how random.
Yeah.
Taxes. It's one vertical. It's a big one. It's getting crazy here in California, you know, paying taxes. Kind of looked at Texas a little bit, you know, like Rogan. Miami. In Miami and Texas both have no state tax.
And when I heard about his move, my first thought was, what's going to happen to all of his animals? Logan had dogs, pigs, horses, fish, a parrot, and a turtle, and his animals were a big part of his brand. He would make content dedicated to his animals, and he had an entire clothing brand where his parrot was the face of it. So I was curious what his plans were for his animals that he seemed to value so much. But in actuality, he didn't value them that much at all. Or I should say he does value them, but in a monetary kind of way. He referred to purchasing a giant Flemish hare as purchasing an asset.
One of
Or an
those large
ostrich.
Flemish hares, the giant rabbits that are like $50,000.
Looked into those. Looked into getting one of those.
Massive.
Big rabbits.
Yeah.
Size of Evan.
Yeah.
Maybe even bigger. You should definitely have one of those. Because at what point, I mean, are you just good? You should buy some dumb shit. Like
You have to.
some assets that really depreciate.
I just think that's a bit of interesting insight for how Logan views animals, because cars, houses, and expensive clothing are often assets that are considered to depreciate, but I would never refer to an animal as something that depreciates. And when a coyote got into his backyard and ate his dog, Kong, he seemed to be already aware that there were coyotes in his neighborhood, and not only did he not do anything to prevent a potential attack, but he also expected something to be done about the coyotes beforehand.
I think something needs to be done about the coyote problem in our neighborhood. Some sort of protection, because this is getting ridiculous. Like, I'm not the only one in this neighborhood who's lost a dog.
In some cases, it is incredibly difficult to protect your animal, especially if you're, say, walking your dog and then another dog or a coyote attacks you. But on your own property, it is no one else's responsibility but your own to ensure it is a safe place for your animal, especially if you are already aware that there are predators in the area. So based on his history with his pets and how he views them, I was legitimately concerned and curious for what happened to them when he left to Puerto Rico. He made no content or announcements for what happened to them, so I went on a bit of a search to try and find out what happened. And then I compiled my findings in a video. I found that most of his animals were given to friends or returned to the people who he purchased them off to begin with. And so I thought that may be the case for his two pigs, Pearl and Piggy Smalls. He got his first pig, Pearl, with his girlfriend at the time, and then he later got Piggy Smalls when he determined Pearl was depressed and needed a mate. After I couldn't find any information about where Pearl and Piggy Smalls ended up, I reached out to the person who sold them to Logan to begin with to see if she had received them back. And she did actually respond. In her response, she said she wanted to respect the privacy of every client, so she couldn't tell me too much. But she did tell me that the pigs are good and still together, and that they are not with her. So I left it at that. that. As long as the pigs were good, that is all I wanted to hear. But as it turns out, the pigs were far from good. A few months after making that video, I received a direct message from a farmer in Fillmore, California. They had nothing on their profile, no profile picture, no other photos, and I was the only account they followed. And they claimed to have Pearl in their care. But something that you can claim is gift cards through today's sponsor, Mistplay. Mistplay is a leading loyalty app for mobile gamers. You can play games through the Mistplay app to earn points to then redeem gift cards from places like Amazon, Walmart, Xbox, PlayStation, Visa, and many more. Over $60 million in gift cards have already been redeemed. There are game genres on Mistplay for everybody. There are shooter games, there are music games, there are card games, and many, many more. If you are already playing mobile games, that you may as well play them through Mistplay and get rewarded at the same time. Visit mistplay.com/Sid or click the link at the top of the description box to download Mistplay for free. And you can get 200 bonus points by signing up today. Plus, use my code SIDDWYER50 to get an additional 50 points free, which will help towards redeeming your first gift card. See description for the full details. Okay, so back to the video to talk about somebody who could give me the full details for what happened to Pearl and Piggy Smalls. I was a bit skeptical about the profile that reached out to me on Instagram, but they did provide me with their personal phone number so that I could contact them if I wanted to get further information. I did Google that phone number and it was in fact a farmer in Fillmore, California, like they said, but I decided to respond to them on Instagram instead of calling them because as much as Logan doesn't like the taxes in Los Angeles, I don't like to speak to people on the phone. So in their first message to me, they said that they saw my video on Logan Paul's pets and that they have Pearl. They said that Pearl was in a good temporary home with them, but they are looking for a new owner. They also said that they saved Pearl from becoming a coyote's meal and RIP Piggy Smalls. Despite being pretty sure that they were telling the truth, I did respond asking for a photo of Pearl. I believe they were messaging me on Instagram through a web browser because they said they had to work out how to get the photos of Pearl off of their phone and onto their computer. And in a subsequent message, they asked if I was friends with Logan Paul. So clearly they are not too good with technology or very aware of the internet space at all. So I just think that goes to show they didn't have any agenda against Logan Paul since they weren't really familiar with who he was. Their agenda was simply to try and rehome Pearl. Then a few days later, they worked out how to send a photo, and this is what they sent me, and that photo confirms that they definitely had Pearl. I then asked a few more questions, trying to work out how they saved Pearl from becoming a coyote's meal. Basically, Logan took the pigs to a ranch nearby, and I would assume he was put in touch with the ranch through the person he purchased the pigs off of, and that's how she knew the status of the pigs and was able to tell me that they were good. But yeah, like I said, the pigs weren't good for very long. The owner of the ranch was moving out of state, and in the process of moving away, Pearl and Piggy Smalls escaped their enclosure. The farmer who rescued Pearl said that Piggy Smalls was found dead. And at first, they didn't actually want me to mention that. They said they didn't want to throw the previous carer under the bus since they were a good guy, either based off the vibe or something the previous carer said. The farmer who rescued Pearl thought that the pigs were kind of just dropped on him. During one of their conversations, it was mentioned that the pigs were Logan Paul's pigs. So the farmer searched up Logan Paul's pigs, and then my video came up, and then they reached out to me. They mentioned a number of times that Pearl really liked people, and they just weren't able to give Pearl that kind of environment on their farm, so they were hoping that they could rehome her and that I could help. So that is when I made my second video, specifically on on Logan Paul and Pearl. I also touched on some other influencer pets in that video. But yeah, we never got any sort of comment from the person who owned the ranch that Logan Paul gave the pigs to. So all we have to go off is the farmer who rescued Pearl. And like I said, they didn't even really know of Logan Paul beforehand, so it was a relatively unbiased opinion. Since they were directly involved with everything, when they say that the pigs were kind of just dropped off on the person at the ranch, I am inclined to believe that. Of course, it was still his decision to accept the pigs, even though he clearly didn't have a pen secure enough to house them, which is probably something that Logan should have checked on as well. But at the end of the day, the biggest problem is that Logan even purchased the pigs to begin with. Not only is it very apparent that Logan only purchased a lot of his animals to serve as props for his videos, but he fed into the trend that has left a lot of pigs now displaced. The Facebook page of the person who Logan originally purchased the pigs off of is now filled with a whole bunch of non-stop notices of rehoming pigs. Not only that, but she started selling mini pigs with extreme discounts. Pigs that would normally sell for $1,500 to $2,700 were then being sold for just $100. I'm sure the breeder had the best of intentions and assumed that people would love their pigs so much that they would accommodate them when they grew older and bigger, but unfortunately that just wasn't the case. So many people who purchase mini pigs don't realize that the mini part of it is just temporary. They grow to the full size of whatever breed they are. Most mini pigs are actually pot-belly pigs, or sometimes they can even be just regular pigs that are just small as a piglet, but of course grow bigger when they get older. And a big reason why so many people give up on a pig when they grow older opposed to a dog is that a pig just can't provide a person with the same kind of companionship that a dog can in most cases. Some people prefer pigs over dogs as pets, but for the most part people prefer dogs over pigs. Pigs don't look into the eyes of their owners in the way that a dog does, trying to work out what their owner wants, and pigs don't like to be handled in the way that a dog can typically be handled. So while studies show that pigs are more intelligent than dogs, more often than not, they just don't provide what the average person is looking for in a pet when they grow older and bigger. Obviously, Logan's reason for giving up Pearl and all of his animals, including his dogs, was different to those reasons, but regardless of why he left Pearl behind, he wouldn't have ever purchased her if he couldn't use her for content. And much like so many other supposedly mini pigs, Pearl ended up being displaced as well. And when she fell into the lap of the farmer, they wanted to rehome her as well. Since Pearl had been raised around people, she really liked the attention she got from people. But since the farmer was busy with a number of other animals as well as doing farmers markets, they couldn't provide her with that kind of life. They could give her shelter, food, and water, but they couldn't fulfill her life in the way she needed it to be. So after making my video on Logan and Pearl, I got heaps and heaps of messages and comments from people wanting to help. Then after a couple of months, I got a message from somebody who had a connection with the Gentle Barn Animal Sanctuary. After talking for a little bit, I gave them the phone number of the farmer, and then Gentle Barn reached out to the farmer. They arranged the collection of Pearl amongst themselves, and then Pearl was rescued. I was made aware that the transfer of Pearl went well, and then I notified my subscribers of what happened. A month after that, the Gentle Barn made it public that they rescued Pearl. They publicly posted Pearl's story to TikTok. They said Pearl was irresponsibly rehomed and abandoned. In the description of the TikTok, they said Pearl was found alone in a field next to another pig who had passed away. They also said she came to us with a potentially life-threatening infection in her uterus. And they said, from what we've been told, it's believed she was purchased originally from a breeder by an influencer, People often buy mini pigs or teacup pigs for clout online, believing they will stay small. When they inevitably grow very large and have many unexpected needs, they're sadly discarded. A lot of people who didn't know the full story assumed that it was Logan who dumped Pearl and Piggy Smalls in a field, and the story went viral. Logan then went on TMZ to address the situation, and he didn't seem to like that the Gentle Barn said that Pearl was irresponsibly rehomed.
Because the way that TikTok went out, it did make it seem like you were the person who had abandoned Pearl.
Yeah. The verbiage they used was she was irresponsibly rehomed. So the first thing I did was I checked myself. I said, wait a second, was she irresponsibly rehomed by me? Absolutely not. She was put in an amazing horse ranch where she lived an amazing life for 10 months.
But yeah, the Gentle Barn was just likely repeating information that they were told from the farmer, which seems to line up with what the farmer told me, that Logan just dropped the pigs on the person who owned the ranch. And it seemed that Logan had a pretty limited knowledge for what happened to Piggy Smalls, which he referred to as a second pig.
Was that they said there was a second pig found with Pearl, and I looked into that as well. Pearl was transferred alone. So the farmer, who I haven't spoken to yet, denies knowing anything about a second pig. And I don't know what that is or if that's even true, but there was no second pig. Pearl was transferred alone.
It's understandable that he didn't know what happened, since he said that he hadn't spoken to the farmer or the Gentle Barn yet, but I'm sure he's all cleared up with it now. It was told to me that the pigs escaped, and then they rescued Pearl from around the mountains around their property. Pearl was transferred alone because Piggy Smalls died out there in the mountains. Logan also tweeted what he believed the version of events to be. He said the farmer denies there ever being a second pig, which contradicts everything that the farmer told me. Logan then thanked the Gentle Barn for taking Pearl in and offered some kind of financial assistance. The Gentle Barn was actually going to do up a video exclusively for me and my viewers, because if it wasn't for my audience, it never would have happened. But after all of the backlash, they decided not to engage in the situation any further, which was fair enough. But yeah, that is pretty much everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let's take a moment of silence for all of the influencer pets that get tossed to the side once they are done using them for clout, and also all of the mini pigs that get displaced once they grow too big to handle. And I will see you in my next video.